Hey there, so my name is Andrew. Recently I went viral on Reddit of all places. For I forgot the number of applications I've done at the time. I think it was like 1400 or something like that. As an update, I am definitely past 2000 applications. Relatively been unemployed on and off for close to 2 years now. I will say though that my journey is probably not like most others. So if you are a college graduate and you're watching this, I don't want to say like there's hope, but it is rough. It might be rougher for you. I don't know. So I'm just gonna make this video. For all I know, this gets no views and kind of go over what led me in this position and kind of what I'm going to be doing going forward given this predicament that I'm in. I don't really know how to describe how I feel regarding it. It's not necessarily like where you feel like everything is like over because it's not, but like you're also like, wow, I've not made much progress and I really feel like I should have. That's probably has to do with a lot about this job market on top of like my background and my skill set. So I guess a little bit more information about what happened on Reddit was I made this post where it's like one of those diagrams where it shows you the amount of applications, the offers, the non-response. I'll have the diagram on the screen. And ultimately I concluded and I wrote in the comments how I even at this point just started reaching out to government roles, the military, which even military recruiters have not really gotten back to me. I'm supposed to call the recruiter in my area. I called, didn't get a response back, and then it's like because it's just been so disjointed, I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't apply to this. Like I'm not like it's not it's a calling, but it's like it's a calling out of near desperation. I even recently been looking at like FedEx, UPS drivers, USPS drivers, and there's none even hiring in LA. There's a warehouse position, and it's like 19 an hour, part time, terrible part of LA, an hour commute for me. And it's like, so about my background, I am essentially a music producer and audio engineer, and I actually make pretty good money doing it, at least up to a certain point. I sold sample, I had a e-commerce website still up, it still sells. It's just I don't really work on it. And that's just a whole other, maybe that's another video I do another time. I don't want to get into it today. But just I wanted to I wanted to transition into technology. I got a degree in computer management information systems. It's like doing management and you're managing networks. You have to understand databases. We had a class for like SAP, I believe. All these like it's like information systems technology degree with a bit more management and accounting. So I did it because back in college I was running the music production business, and back in Missouri I was making. It was me and another person. It was like a group of people, honestly, that we were all contributing, but like collectively, probably from what I remember, like six figures. Now obviously, like there was really me and my business partner at the time, so you split that up, and then there's revenue going to a few other people. So like it's not like I was making six figures. Now hindsight, had we stayed in Missouri, probably could have been making each six figures, and life would be a whole lot different than it is now. But then we moved to Los Angeles, California during the pandemic, and I think that's actually it was a great decision, but I don't think the business or we were ready, and we moved out of an immature decision on my end because my girlfriend at the time, ex now, but she got in a. This is a whole nother story, but essentially we moved out here because of her. we had an interest to do it because it's also the music capital. Long story short, none of it worked out. And I'm still here. And I'm here with my girlfriend now, and we're actually planning on moving back to Missouri. So I'm in this position now where it's like, I have a degree. I'm better off than, a lot that may not, but my degree didn't cover like data structures. It didn't cover like, we did Java, we did mobile app development, but we didn't do like algorithms and data structures. We didn't do like computer, what was it, like compiler. There was no compiler because it wasn't technically a CS degree. It's adjacent to CS, but it's like you get the fun CS classes without the hard ones. And within the last 2 years, two and a half years, been pursuing web development jobs. I've been trying to get employed by, I don't even try applying at FANG companies. It's not even worth it for my time. Like, there's no way I'm going to get in a FANG company. Not to like, shit on myself, but it's just like the reality is, so I'm shooting like for a lot of other tech jobs. And of course, within the last 2 years or 3 years, with the big boom of ChatGPT, LLMs, it's made coding even easier. But I think in a lot of ways, since I was picking coding back up, I found that I'm in like a hitch, because now it's like you're overly reliant on LLMs with your code. The reason why I even got into doing music was it's on the computer. All the music I do is programming music and audio engineering. And I know how to work with like applications and do a whole bunch of stuff on the computer, but I'm not like a wizard, like one of these cracked developers that have their Neo Vim configurations like remembered. Like, I use Cursor and VS Code and occasionally Vim. Like, I'm not that, like, I'm not a cracked developer. But when I was growing up, I was a script kiddie. I was doing Backtrack 5R3 on a Linux virtual machine, doing penetration testing just for fun, but I was doing script kiddie stuff. I wasn't writing my own Perl, Python, or like C++ scripts when I was a kid. When I really started doing my own programming, I would say without any guardrails, I can't remember, it might have been like sophomore year of high school. I got into Unity game development, and I developed my own Sonic game. And I actually did all the programming. I didn't do the modeling myself, but I actually programmed it in C++. I'm pretty sure that's what Unity is. It's either C++ or C#. I'm nearly certain it's C++. But I did it all myself. I remember like programming in Unity and being like, holy shit, this is hard. Now, I don't want to say I was too young because I'm in high school. I was in high school, but I just don't think my heart was in it then. And back then, like, I'm 28, almost 29 now. And we're talking about I graduated high school 2015. So we're talking about 2013. In 2013, you don't have the developers that are like, like the Theo, the Primogen, Pirate Software. You don't have like the influencer coding people. At least I don't remember them. And there was tutorials, but there was none of like the heavy content to really get you, like, I would say, motivated. And I think because of the lack of my ability of pursuing those resources, I just didn't pursue coding more. During that same period, while in high school, I got super into like music and like the music culture. Through there, I just began, doing production and learning on my own and fiddling with sounds. I had friends that were into wanting to produce. And so I started doing music production. And I don't regret any of that because, I ended up being very, very, very fortunate. I actually am in like the top 5%, maybe 1% of audio engineers and producers. Like, I've actually did quite well, and I've worked with like a lot of great artists. But the reality is you don't get healthcare. You don't get a 401k. You have to figure out your next job. You got to figure out your next client. You're battling for your money every job. You're dealing with very sensitive personalities, just like any other job you do. But like, I think in music, it's a little bit different. People take things a little bit more personal because it is their art. And as I just got older, it's just like I want a little bit more benefits, especially if I'm in a serious relationship and you start talking about like marriage and you start talking about like kids, and it's like, do you really want to be the husband that's doing music and needing to figure out the next paycheck and fighting with the record label to get paid for a few $100s 6 months down the line, which I literally have done. Like, those are the things I'm like, I didn't know if I really wanted to do that. And so I obviously within the last 2-3 years, leaned back into my technology. Unfortunately, the last 2-3 years, that's 2022, 2023, and that's when we started getting all the firings in the tech world. And I didn't get a real tech job in 2019 and 2020. I graduated university in 2019. They were hiring everyone and anyone back then. I didn't go that route, though. So now I have zero enterprise experience. So now when I might have had a lot of years of experience with I have 10 years of experience with AWS. Like I said, I built an e-commerce platform. I've managed auto-scaling EC2 instances. I've done, S3 buckets, VPC, IAMs, and like all that stuff. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert, but I can pull up AWS and feel pretty comfortable. And I know not a lot of people can say that. It's a daunting interface. I've used a little bit of Google Cloud, the Google Cloud platform. It's not my preference. I'm an AWS guy. And so, like, I'm pretty confident with that stuff. But what I'm not confident is, like, some of the basic stuff. Like, can you do a binary search through this? Is this, like, and this is trivial stuff. This is not complicated stuff. And I'm not sitting here and say, like, that's what I'm doing now is I'm kind of going back and I created a 30-day curriculum now that I'm a study. Because, hey, been applying for about 2 years now. I don't have a job. Now, I've made it pretty far in some of these roles. I've gotten, what would you say? I had contracts, done a lot, did data annotation, did that for about 5 months. Then I got booted off. Didn't tell me why. I was an honest worker on data annotation. I made $16,000 in 5 months. Honestly, on route to like 35,000 in a year. That's not bad. While I also have the music stuff, I was actually paying off my bills without going into savings during that period. But I got booted off. And that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. I should have been looking for a job during those 5 months. I wasn't. Not really. I've also been working on a startup, an AI music startup in the last 2 years. Completely developed the technology myself. I have a co-founder. We're both experts in the music industry. He's even more of an expert. He has more years in the industry. He has actual like #1 charting songs, and he is accredited. We've tried every investor, like not every investor, but we've tried a lot of investors. And it's just like, what they ultimately come down to is like, how many customers do you have right now? Well, it's like, well, not many, if any, not any to worth mentioning. And then, we got rejected from YC 2-3 times. Totally fine. Understand it's a very competitive nowadays in YC. And they're just not interested in AI music. Totally understand. Small market. Talking about a $30 billion market cap in music. They want companies that could potentially be hundreds of billions of dollars. In music, that's not going to happen. You're lucky if you get worth $1 billion. So, that's fine. We just finished a program through Jason, the All In podcast. He has a program called Founder University. Top 10% companies get selected. They get in there. Then you pitch at the end, and then the top 10% get funded. We just did our pitch today. It went good, but and we were one of the 10% to get in the program. So that's, the only way something like this really takes off is if we get funding and do really well. And like the tech space is just, in this regard, AI music, it's a tough market. Almost better to do like a very popular consumer facing SaaS product, honestly, or some utility product that serves a wide demographic of people. Ours, the entry customer base is very small in terms of music market. It's a tough market. That's all I'm gonna say. That's like the predicament that I've found myself in. I'm coming in here with, I'm gonna say years of experience, but it's not really years of experience. I've done this stuff in like a self-entrepreneurial way where I was making money. I was paying the bills for a long time, but then things start not turning out. Then there's changes in the business, and then there's changes in the industry. So then you don't make enough money, and then you just start getting tired because you spent so long in it. It's an exhausting industry. So then you want to switch. But unfortunately, my switch is substantially different than probably a lot of other people. I'm sure if you switch from Netflix to Zapier, probably not that, there's maybe a development stack difference, but like you went from one enterprise tech company to another enterprise tech company, you're probably going to be better off versus coming from self-entrepreneurial. Like I'm the stuff that I've done works and it generates revenue, but like, it's not like some like enterprise level technology. So, when they look at someone and they look as two different people to hire and they look at me, okay, he doesn't have enterprise experience. He's a go-getter, self-entrepreneur. He probably learns really quick, but he's a gamble. But then they look at this other guy. Oh, well, he's from AT&T. He works on Java. He's actually from the Azure world. So he doesn't really work with AWS, but he's actually from enterprise. And he understands, like, he has a reputable experience working with other developers, going through Jira tickets and all this other shit. Well, obviously they're going to go with him. And I don't fault a company with going with that person either. And especially when you go to the technical questions and then you ask me about like what's a data warehouse? What's a data pool? I haven't worked with big data. Like, I've never really worked on like Snowflake or Databricks. Then it's like, I'm cooked. At that point, you're cooked. Like, you're not getting the job. I guess all I could say is we're in the time right now when you are graduating. If you're in tech, let me preface. If you're in like healthcare, just something that's not tech, if you're in like construction, don't listen to this. None of this probably even matters to you. If you're in tech, you gotta be committed. And I think you should really, if you're not passionate about this or you want to learn everything at the super, super lowest level and you aren't willing to like bust your ass and then do internships, like if you're really not trying to like really be in tech, but you're just doing tech because your mom and dad told you you're gonna get a 6-figure job, some guys that are doing really well, they got nice cars, they got good retirement, they work remote, and that's what you're going in for. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's impossible, but you're probably going in it for substantially the wrong reason, and I probably will say it's not gonna turn out for you. I love tech. I've always loved tech. I will continue doing stuff, coding, programming, making fun projects. I don't care if they make money or not. I care, but like, I do them because I'm doing something because I want to do it. But on the flip side, I do want to get a job. I do want the tech benefits. But I'm 28 now, and I have years of experience. I have proof of things that I've done. I am just not that ideal candidate for most employers. And hey, maybe this all changes in 30 days when I go through my 30-day challenge, which I'm going to film. Or maybe I develop something that, I end up making money on my own, not needing to get a job. And I can get good health insurance and I can support my girl and myself, and I can support the move back home. Maybe that would be great. I'm not against that either, but it's a rough road, and I honestly feel I've seen a lot of these videos, so I'm just making another video with like the other 100,000 people that feel desolated or destituted or essentially feel hopeless with the current market and the position they feel like they're in. I mean, hopefully this like were to help someone. I don't want it to be a Debbie Downer for anyone, but it sort of is just the reality. I'll share some links down below, some stuff that I'm working on. One of my new projects is I'm learning Brazilian Portuguese, practicing my German, and trying to learn Mandarin. So I created an AI language learning platform. Trying to fix a lot with it right now, but ultimately, I think there's hope. You just really got to work really hard because you're not just competing against your friends in college and high school. You're competing with people with all over the world. AI coding and all that such, it will make an impact. We're still gonna need developers. I'm not the guy that's gonna say AI is gonna replace you. It's probably not right now. It's gonna be a while. If anything, you should use it to help you power through and learn, but don't be like me where the last 2 years I've also used it as a crutch, partially due to the fact that honestly I'm doing like a startup and I'm doing stuff where I have to build fast, and it ended up costing me just not being the most well versed in programming, which I will admit has costed me jobs. If you think you're going to get a job because you know how to prompt really well and use AI and kind of like skip by university, I'm going to tell you you're not going to get a job. And if you do, I'm glad, great. But if you're watching this and then you're like thinking like, oh, that's me. Hey man, just plug away, learn it the hard way. It's substantially way more worth it. So, yep, this video is already way too long. So hopefully this is helpful for anyone else.